Our next fellow-elect is Professor John Maynard from the Indigenous Higher Education Centre at the University of Newcastle, the only Australian city with 3 surfing beaches within easy walking access of the CBD, John.
Absolutely, Peter. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you very much. Also, as a Worimi Aboriginal man from the Newcastle area, I also would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the Ngunnawal people and their ancestral lands within which I am most honoured to be a visitor. I'm also greatly honoured and humbled to be elected to the Academy, and I really do say how much I've actually overblown with that response to be on the Academy. I heard our first speaker say she's an accidental Australian. Well, I'm an accidental academic. I look back at my school years, which started in 1959 and ended in 1969. I don't look back with fond memories on my school years. There was not a lot of support or encouragement. There was certainly nothing of Aboriginal history or culture in the school curriculum during those years. And I spent a lot of my time getting the cane. I'm not quite sure why. And I'm looking out the window and thinking things must be far better on the outside than they are on the in. And the day I turned 15, I was straight out the gate. I spent the next 25 years in a whole variety of jobs, none even remotely related to academia. Builder's labourer, truck driver, barman, and even an on-flight groom looking after racehorses flying around the world. So far removed from education and academia. At the age of 39, close to 40, I was putting together a family history for my father, uncles, aunties, cousins, extended family members on my grandfather, a very high-profile Aboriginal activist who's recognised as such today, but certainly wasn't in Australian history when we go back to my time at school. My vision for that was nothing more greater than an exercise book with some material that I collected at archival institutions, photographs, written material, and I'd hand that over to the family. Back in '93, I went to the Wallatuka Aboriginal Education Centre just to have a conversation on some other areas that I might explore. And Tracy Bunder, then director, a Murray woman from Queensland, we had the briefest of conversations. And the way that I look at the story, by the time I turned around, I was enrolled as a diploma student. I'd been kidnapped. I spent 2 years doing the diploma, a BA and a PhD fired. 9 books later, I'm a professor, and I've even been elected a fellow of the Academy of Social Sciences, so it's been a remarkable journey. What have I done in those years? Well, certainly my grandfather's story, which is the focus of my thesis, and also a subsequent book, Fight for Liberty and Freedom, has taken up a lot of my time. But and the connections between the early Aboriginal movement 90 years ago with African American connections and influence, particularly Marcus Garvey and even Jack Johnson, the heavyweight boxing champion earlier. Also a comparative study of early Aboriginal political activists and North American political activism 1900 to 1930. But again, my work has been extremely diverse. I've done books on Aboriginal jockeys, 3rd edition of that book came out last year, a book on Aboriginal soccer players, studies of Aboriginal steel workers, studies of Aboriginal language and culture in the areas of Newcastle, a study looking at relationships between Aboriginal men and white women. So again, as I said, my areas of study have been extremely diverse. From the very outset, my direction for my work has not changed. In the first instance, I was writing for my own family with an Aboriginal audience as my target. That hasn't changed, and I continue to write for Aboriginal people and communities where they can read material, enjoy it, gain inspiration from it and learn from it, particularly the focus on young Aboriginal kids coming through, that they've got heroes and heroines of their own that they can draw inspiration from. It's also, again, my work is always looking at those missing pieces of the large jigsaw puzzle, which is Aboriginal history, and filling in those gaps. I like to explore the unknown aspects of that particular history. I've also taken upon myself, as many others have gone along that journey, of educating wider non-Indigenous Australia of the Aboriginal experience historically in this country. So that's been an important focus for me. My work today, at this particular point in time, I run the Yuriki History, Politics and Culture Node of the National Indigenous Research and Knowledges Network, which is an ARC initiative, which is looking to promote Indigenous research high degree cohort across the country nationally. Myself and Mick Dodson are working together on the Serving Our Country project, which is looking to catalogue Aboriginal historical involvement with the Australian military from the Boer War right through to the present. Bruce Gates is a part of that journey. He's going to step up here shortly as well. So it's a very important project in relation to the next 4 years, with a lot of celebrations taking place, and it's important that we put the Aboriginal presence in that military history in place. I've also just had, well, this Friday, a new book on convict artist Joseph Lycett will be launched at the National Library. So if anyone's around, come along and buy a few dozen books while you're there. Mick Dodson will be launching the book on Friday. And only in the last week, the ARC announcement, and we were successful in getting an ARC Discovery grant to look at the history of the New South Wales Aborigines Protection Board. So that's where I'm at. Thanks very much.